Greetings, goths, punks, metalheads, herberts, herbetters, Martians and subterranean folk and cosmic groovers, and buenos dias, amigos. How you all doing? My name's John, and this is the Health Anarchist channel. And today, it's absolutely awful, the weather. It's torrential rain, so it's going to be an indoor video. And we're going to be going down a rabbit hole today. And it's a rabbit hole that I've recently gone down. It started off with a 7-inch vinyl single. And it's going to end up with me doing a movie review and critique of one of my favourite movies, horror movies of all time. Now, this single, it's called Free BA from Middlesex Polly. Now, the artist is B.A. Robertson. I'm not really interested in the artist at all. There's only one song he did that I liked, and this is what caught my attention. And if I show you there, you can see the title of the song is Sucker for Your Love. Now, this song was one of the songs that was performed in one of my favourite horror movies of all time, which is The Monster Club. Now, that's the only song that this artist has done that I've ever been interested in because of the horror movie connection. And we'll play a little bit of that single later on just to hear what that sounds like. So one of my favourite movies of all time, The Monster Club, I'll tell you a little bit about that. The Monster Club is a low-budget British horror movie from 1981, and it's an anthology of different stories. There's a main story, and then within that there's 3 additional stories. Now, the film was directed by Roy Ward Baker, and the film stars Vincent Price, one of my favourite horror actors of all time, and John Carradine. Now, there's the main story, and within that story, there's 3 other horror stories. One is called The Shadmock, then The Vampires, then after that, The Ghouls, and The Ghouls is hands-on my favourite part of the whole movie. So the movie starts off with a writer who's walking the streets of a city and he gets bitten by a vampire, which is Vincent Price. Then the vampire kind of feels guilty for biting him. And he only bit him to sustain his life a bit longer. And, you know, he apologises and takes him for a drink in this club. And this club is called the Monster Club. And it's a place where all the freaks and weirdos and monsters and outcasts come to meet. And straight away, with the film being 1981, it made me think, did one of the people involved in the movie actually go to a sort of alternative club, and did that inspire them for this music? Because a lot of the bands in this movie are new wave bands, which is interesting. So in between the stories and what's going on, there's bands that perform songs on stage at this Monster Club. Now, the B.A. Robertson song, Sucker for Your Love, is my favourite song of the bands that performed in this movie. And I'm not sure if he just did a new wavy style song, you know, because that's what the movie wanted, because it was very different from his typical style, which is not my thing at all. The other bands, there's some of the other songs that are pretty cool as well. I'm going to leave a link to this movie in the description below, because it's up on here, YouTube. You can watch it free, and you know, if you like sort of Vincent Price low budget horror movies, you'll probably like it. So what I'm going to do now is I'll play a few clips of my favourite song from the movie, Sucker for Your Love, from the movie, just to get an idea of what it's like. So as you can see straight away, a lot of you will be familiar with this scene of a band coming on stage at a little club, and, you know, especially around that 1981, when there was a lot of like sort of gothic and horror punk themed bands. So yeah, I must say the lyrics are very cheesy and tongue-in-cheek, but they're supposed to be. But yeah, it adds to the humour. The film does have a lot of dark, sort of black humour. It's not a really serious movie, although some of the stories are. I like the way they've got a really catchy chorus in this. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely a catchy song, and yeah, for some reason it interested me, and it always has done. But yeah, that's what inspired me to get the 7-inch single. When I seen it, I thought, oh, I know that song, I know that movie. I'll go and get that single and see what it's like. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a few clips of the vinyl record and see what it sounds like. That's actually quite different, not what I was expecting. More sort of rock feel to it rather than new wave. Just have a listen to the chorus. It's actually the same lyrics, even though it's musically sounds different. Yeah, the chorus sounds similar to the movie version. Still a bit different. Yeah, in some ways the lyrics are the same and some of the musical little parts are the same, but it's quite different from the movie version. And I must admit, I do prefer the movie version. But it's still an interesting little artifact and bit of memorabilia related to the film. You can still get the actual official soundtrack to the movie. But interestingly, the song on that official soundtrack is actually a little bit different than the movie too. So there's 3 versions that I'm aware of. There's the actual version used in the movie, which is my favourite. Then there's the official soundtrack, which is similar to the movie, but not quite as good. And then there's this live version, which is quite an entirely different thing completely. But, it's still part of the film that I like. So, it was worth getting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about my favourite story from the movie, which is called The Ghouls. And I think it's really good. And I put a few still shots up from the movie because I don't want to spoil it too much for those of you who haven't watched it. And I'm not going to put any twists of the plot in on and reveal those. So let's get into it and why I like it. Now, The Ghouls starts off with a film director. He's looking for a movie location. So he's travelling around in his car. And he's in the middle of nowhere, really. And he suddenly goes through this strange mist in his car. And he comes into this really old, sort of medieval looking village. And it's really creepy with an old creepy church. And now I can really relate to that because, I spent some of my childhood, a few years in Lincolnshire, and there's so many weird, creepy, really old-fashioned medieval-looking villages that were just very strange. And I can remember we were stuck when I was a kid, just going round in circles, getting lost in these little country lanes, keep going back to the same village. So there's definitely things I can relate to there, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to things like that. But anyway, as the story continues, he gets out his car and he's looking for someone to talk to because he wants it for a location, and finds out the village is run by ghouls and it's taken over by ghouls, and they try and take him prisoner, and then he meets this human ghoul hybrid called Luna. I think she calls herself a human ghoul, sort of human and ghoul. And she's actually quite kind, and she helps him, and they make a plan to escape together. And as the story continues, he finds some old records of what actually happened. Now, this section of the movie was very interesting to me because it was done in a black and white sort of comic book style. It describes how the priest in this village had found this ghoul in the graveyard, and then he took him in and they washed him, bathed him, they put him in a clean bed, and I think the priest was going to try and reform this ghoul monster. But very soon, the ghoul went back to its instinct, which was digging up graves and eating human bones and stuff, whatever horror ghouls do. And then it invited all its ghoul friends, and they took over the village, and, you know, that's the history of the movie. And I just find it fascinating. And then they're trying to escape. And I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to spoil it. I can relate to this story, the Ghouls, so well because there's so many places in England that are like these villages. Even where I live now, in Staley Bridge, there's remote villages, you know, on the moors, and, you know, places with like medieval pubs, still like 16th century pubs. And some of them are very strange when you go in, especially if you're alternative, the reaction you get off people. So this story, The Ghouls, is very relatable. I think a lot of people have been to these sort of weird, quiet places, and there's something very creepy and unnerving about these stories, which isn't so much in the other stories in the film. So, yeah, it's a good one. As always, big thank you to all my recent subscribers. Cheers, guys. You guys rock. And to all my subscribers that have been with me for a while now, thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate having you guys around. So I hope you guys didn't mind staying indoors with me today while it's been raining outside and I've done this little horror movie review. If you did like it, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. It really helps grow the channel. And until the next video, don't forget, be different, stay weird, and stay free. Bye now.